In a campaign stop in New Hampshire, GOP presidential candidate Marco Rubio had inadvertently made the case for raising the minimum wage.
And I have full confidence that the American private sector, made up of the most innovative and productive people on this planet, won't just create millions of jobs. They will create millions of jobs that pay more. Because even the jobs that are being created now don't pay enough. You can't live on $10 an hour. You can't live on $11 an hour. We need jobs that pay much more than that, but we have to have an economy and economic policies that make America the best place in the world to create jobs that pay more.
So here we have someone who knows something of the economic reality. You just heard him say, we can't live on $10. We can't live on $11 an hour. That's ridiculous. Now, even though he knows this reality, that doesn't mean he actually wants to do anything about it or have the government do anything about it. No. Which, by the way, the government's in the best position to solve this issue by raising the minimum wage. But instead, Marco Rubio argues that the solution to stagnant wages is, guess what? Economic growth. Now, what that really means is tax cuts for the rich. Now, here we go. So, essentially, he says through the magic of fairy dust and altruistic employers, Rubio thinks that the wealth is just going to trickle down. If only we're to cut taxes for the rich just a little bit more. Even though the actual rate that they're paying is actually at a historic low versus what they're supposed to pay. They're supposed to pay 39%. Most companies, most corporations don't pay that. Now, as far as capital gains, they're only taxed at 15%. Marco Rubio says, no, they shouldn't even pay that much. You know what we should do? Eliminate it. Eliminate capital gains and eliminate any tax on dividends. Get rid of it all. This is a plan that's been called the Puppies and Rainbows Plan by the New York Times. Yeah, the Puppies and Rainbows Plan. It's essentially nothing more than magic fairy dust and giveaways to rich people. That, he thinks, will raise wages. I got news for you. It's not going to work. Now, he says that this will happen, and this is their argument. They'll argue that there's a dynamic effect when you cut taxes for the rich. If you cut their taxes, they'll invest the money that they saved instead of paying into taxes. Well, but no, they don't. We've done that. And what have they done? They've done stock buybacks, which increase their company's value, and it artificially inflates their value, their stock prices. Well, that doesn't do anything for normal people. That doesn't do anything for wages. It just makes their company more valuable in the stock market, on the casino that is Wall Street. Or they'll, I don't know, give themselves, their executives, the board, a bonus. They've done that a lot, boosting their wages artificially. Or they'll stash it overseas, or a combination of any one of those things. And yes, some might invest it into upgrading some of their equipment and whatnot, but rarely does it seem to create jobs. Now, we have another name for this dynamic effect, and it's called voodoo economics. That's essentially what it is. Cutting taxes for the rich doesn't automatically create jobs or create economic growth. And it's been proven not to. Now, as far as any argument for raising the minimum wage, well, Rubio's already made a stand on that. He says no. He argues, along with many wealthy Republicans and large business owners, that raising the minimum wage would lead to higher prices and less employment. That's their argument. Now, the facts and studies do not actually bear that out. Numerous studies have shown that little correlation between higher minimum wages and increased unemployment. Meaning that, no, even if you raise the wages, that does not automatically eliminate jobs. Now, there is the issue of automation, but automation is coming anyway. And at some point, we're going to have to deal with that. Will it come a little bit faster in some occupations? It might. There is that possibility. But that doesn't mean that we can't do something now to help people. All right, so not only that, but raising wages helps people because they turn around and they spend that money in the economy. And they actually do things with that money, which in turn creates demand. Which in turn, if you have more demand and you don't have enough employees to do the job, you hire more people. It's simple. It leads to job creation and economic growth. Now, is there a point? And some conservatives will argue, well, why don't we just raise the minimum wage to $100 an hour? Well, there is a point of where it becomes counterintuitive, and we know that. That's a ridiculous argument that they bring up. If you raise the minimum wage to a certain amount of money, $15 an hour, that is a living wage. That is the point in which people can live without government help, without the need for government subsidies in the form of housing assistance, welfare, food stamps, etc. We should be at least getting that. Now, if wages kept up with productivity, we'd be making over $20 an hour. Well, wouldn't that be nice, right? Well, overall, Marco Rubio may understand the problem, but he certainly does not understand a workable solution. It's more magic and fairy dust and more trickle-down. And unfortunately, that's not going to work. Now, my final thought on this is that in the wealthiest country on earth, we have no excuse. There is no excuse for someone that works 40 hours a week to be in poverty. And there's another study that came out that showed that people cannot live on anything under than $14 an hour. And in many states, just in order to get by, people have to work 100+ hours a week. They would have to. It's impossible. They would have to work 100+ hours a week just to survive. That's not right. In the wealthiest country in the world, that should not be the case. And there's no excuse for it not to be. We can do better. We can do better.